That is, I saw you just gave up. There's Michael Piercy was going to play a soundbite there, and something went terribly wrong, and I could tell by the look on his face. And he gave me the secret signal. He raised his left hand with an extended index finger and went like that, like karate chop. Bum, 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 bum. Now, when last we convened on Friday, toward the end of our humble 3-hour radio broadcast, I was telling you about things likely to happen over the weekend. And one of them was a big break in the disappearance of NBC Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, who has now, it's been 9 days, I believe. At least 8 days since she vanished. 9 days since she was seen alive by her daughter, not Savannah Guthrie, but the other daughter, Annie Guthrie, and her husband, Tomasio. And we haven't seen him. Boy, he's been conspicuously missing, hasn't he? And Annie showed up in the group videos that they've put out, and there was another one over the weekend, maybe even two over the weekend, updating. But the final deadline, Fox News headline this morning, Nancy Guthrie latest, : they love their colons. Final deadline looms in kidnapping of Savannah Guthrie's mom. Savannah Guthrie's mom. And the New York Post, Nancy Guthrie ransom deadline looms as search for Today Star's missing mom enters 9th day. Now, Savannah Guthrie and her family are facing a terrifying, fast-approaching deadline with a demand out there to pay $6 million, the $6 million man, $6 million ransom in Bitcoin later Monday, and friends claiming the Today Show host missing 84-year-old mother say that they've got to pay it by 5 p.m. Arizona time, that's 7 p.m. Eastern time today. The ransom note gave a deadline of 5 p.m. Arizona, 7 p.m. Eastern time to pay a Bitcoin account or face serious consequences 9 days after the family matriarch is assumed to have been snatched from her bed in the $1 million Catalina Foothills home. And the story is completely crazy in so many ways. It genuinely is. I mean, this kind of thing doesn't happen. It's a freak episode, a freak story, and I honestly expected that there would be a break of some kind in the story over the weekend. I did. Did you see President Trump over the weekend? We shared Michael and Michael Piercy and I and a couple of others on our group text thread with Randy and Kevin. We shared. I shared you with the President Trump over the weekend, where he was asked about the kidnapping or the disappearance. I'm not really calling it. I started texting a friend of mine who is a now retired homicide detective in Washington, D.C., and I said, "What do you make of all this? I've got my theory. What do you think about the fact pattern here?" And we've been going back and forth on it, but I did think that there would be a break over the weekend. And then President Trump came out and said something pretty attention-getting about the disappearance over the weekend. And he, the President of the United States, suggested that there would be big developments coming up. And President Trump, first there was a slightly shorter soundbite and then a slightly longer soundbite of President Trump saying, "Yeah, I think there's going to be a development in that situation with the Nancy Guthrie disappearance 9 days ago." And there was no major development. And I said on Friday I thought there would be a major development. President Trump, I think it was on Friday night that he said also, I think it may have been aboard Air Force One, that he said that he was expecting some big news, and the reporter said, "A suspect?" And the president said something like, a resolution. But that was interesting. Also, I was I was focused a bit on Iran and whether there would be U.S. military action against the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Iran, for murdering all of those Iranian people that they murdered. And that didn't happen over the weekend, Super Bowl weekend. I thought, maybe it would be the time to strike at the IRGC. President Trump kind of painted himself into a corner, said if you keep murdering your own people, there will be severe consequences. And they, of course, kept murdering their own people, which puts President Trump in an awkward situation. You may remember Barack Obama, when he was president, promising severe consequences, a red line if the terrorists used chemical weapons in Jordan and Syria. And then they did use chemical weapons, and Barack Obama didn't do anything, and his red line was revealed as the joke that it was. President Trump said if you keep killing your innocent people who are protesting for peace and for freedom and for liberty, then there will be severe consequences. So now the president is kind of in an awkward situation where he's got to make good on his word. But the president on the Savannah Guthrie and Nancy Guthrie story was kind of an interesting moment as well when we saw that over the weekend and started sharing it immediately. But now a new deadline, $6 million ransom, Bitcoin, 84-year-old mom. There was blood found at the scene of the house where she was grabbed. And, I haven't had a good feeling about this thing from the beginning. But President Trump was asked about this on, I think it was Friday night, on, hey, anything we should expect to hear about the kidnapping of Savannah Guthrie's mother?
Well, I'll give you a little statement. I think we're doing very well on that regard. You're probably surprised to hear that. I think we're doing very well. Very well, meaning we have some clues, I think, that are very strong. And I think we could have some answers coming up fairly soon.
Is this a nationwide search? Is this a search going on?
I'm not talking about a search. I'm talking about a solution. We have some things I think that will maybe come out reasonably soon from DOJ or FBI or whoever that could be.
That could be big, definitive. And is it not just talking about a suspect, talking about big things and the FBI, the DOJ? And I got to say, I mean, even if that is true and they're on the precipice, maybe he's talking out of school a little bit there and he shouldn't be throwing that stuff out. May not be helpful to what the FBI and the Justice Department are working, but that was long after I left the radio studio on Friday. I said on Friday I thought that something would break over the weekend on that story, and then Friday evening President Trump said that, and I said, oh, okay, good. Well, maybe what I said will prove to be correct and true, and there will be a big break. And now there has not been a big break, and there is another deadline. 5 p.m. Arizona time, 7 p.m. Eastern time today. And, there's been no proof of life, so there will be no, presumably, transfer of $6 million unless they're trying to ensnare the people demanding the ransom. And is there even any legitimate reason to believe that the people demanding the $6 million in Bitcoin had anything to do with their disappointment? With her disappearance, but did they, or are they just criminals who jumped on when they saw there was something where maybe they could defraud somebody and scam somebody out of millions of dollars? And it's impossible to say, quite honestly. It's not out of the question that these are fraudsters who jumped on when they saw this happening and said, hey, maybe we can scam somebody out of millions of dollars. And maybe that's what's going on. And then, as you've doubtless heard many times, the family in a situation like this, when such things as this happen, infrequent though they may be, it's usually somebody close to the person who was disappeared, who was made to vanish. And the woman where she lives and so on doesn't have all that many people close to her. Her daughter, Annie, lives locally with her boyfriend or husband. I hear boyfriend one day and husband the next day, so I don't don't know for sure. But that's something, and I've got to say, it's been a fascinating episode to watch. It's terrible. I don't know. Is mom actually being held hostage by people that kidnapped her and are holding her? I find all of that kind of hard to believe, but I won't rule it out as a possibility, I suppose. Like the Democrats coming around on voter ID. I won't rule it out as a possibility. But that's something. It certainly is. Yes, it is. And the president on Friday evening saying, "Oh, we're close." Something I'm talking, a suspect. Oh, beyond suspect. And he said, major development, the FBI and the Justice Department, and that would suggest that the president had a conversation with the Attorney General Pam Bondi or FBI Director Kash Patel, and that he was given some information. And it was kind of, I know something you don't know. So we've got that, and I'd like to see it resolved. It would be nice to see mom saved, like a Hollywood-style ending, but I'm not sure if that's likely. Oh yeah, no, that's right. And Savannah Guthrie and her sister and brother posted a new video on Saturday too, where they promised that they would pay.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her.
Celebrate.
This is the only way we will have peace.
We beg you.
This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
And we will pay. It was a brief message. It was to the point. I got to say, if it turns out that family members sitting next to her in that video are involved, like her sister and her sister's husband, who doesn't show up in this, then this will go down in history as an abomination. And if it's not, if it's really some kind of, again, Hollywood movie kidnappers that stole an 84-year-old woman from her home in the middle of the night on Saturday night going into Sunday morning because she's an NBC News TV anchor or something, that doesn't make a lot of sense. That would be pretty crazy stuff, I've got to say. But there you have it. And nothing quite on that. We haven't gotten to our Super Bowl halftime show and Bad Bunny. With his non-English speak, I got to tell you, I think the NFL lost a lot of fans yesterday. In fact, I heard from people saying, I think I've had it with the NFL. It was not a great Super Bowl game. It just wasn't a great football game. And it was kind of a boring game, and it wasn't an exciting game. And it was kind of a blowout, and the Patriots didn't show up to play, and the Seahawks did show up to play. But it wasn't a great game, not an exciting game. The whole rainbow and pink-colored interior of the stadium, pretty annoying. The non-English-speaking, anti-American, radical leftist Bad Bunny, with all that bourgeois, was something that I think will drive people away from the NFL and from the game of football. But and we've got a little Bad Bunny coming up, because he is a Bad Bunny. He's not Bad Bunny. What a ridiculous planet the left is making for us all. Shouldn't that be in Spanish, Bad Bunny? Malo Bune or something. Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our great nation has to offer, of course, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state line and in every community across our great country, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, our neighbors, the people that we love. No matter where you live, hospital care does not clock out. They are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. Now, every year, America's more than 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care and delivering babies 24 hours a day. Cancer treatments, other life-saving care that patients rely on, of course. And behind every one of those patients, you're going to find doctors and nurses and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy and safe. But now, some people in Congress are threatening access to that care. Tell Congress to protect patient care, to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care. Paid for by the Coalition to Strengthen America's Health Care. There it is. You have the Bad Bunny and all that ridiculous NFL stuff. It was not a great Super Bowl Sunday for the NFL. Or certainly for the New England Patriots, it wasn't. And for viewers at home. And then the foreign language, anti-American, cross-dressing, halftime talent who goes by the name Bad Bunny, even though he has a real name. Let's go to the telephones, and I want to get some Bad Bunny. He said, "God bless America," but he was only kidding. I'll explain what he meant. And it was not, "God bless the United States of America." Let's go to, and he said that in English, too. That must have tripped him up. Let's go to Hugh, calling from Germantown, Maryland. Hugh, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Chris, good morning. Great show as usual. So I watched the show and I found it both offensive and humorous at the same time. But on a serious note, I've been in the U.S. 30 plus years, and I've spent my time living up in the suburbs of New York and North Jersey and in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And what I've noticed over 30 years is that football is a dying sport in the suburbs. Many of your audience may find that shocking, but that's a reality. And its fan base is slowly collapsing. It's like 300-year-old white guys and black Americans, which is a small percentage of the population. So recognize the demographics of America. I think Bad Bunny's performance, shall we say, was a stumbling, bumbling attempt by the league to reach out to Hispanic Latino population, which is growing in the U.S. But unfortunately, they're too stupid and too ignorant to understand that Latinos, that is a fiction in the American liberal mind. I spent some time in Central America in a former life, and I learned that there's multiple countries speaking variations of Spanish, many of whom mutually hate each other, and they have a social ranking. And the social ranking at the top are the Cubans, and they all disagree on that ranking. But at the top are the Cubans, who are really Castilian gentlemen who happen to live in the Caribbean, most of them now living in Miami. And at the bottom of the rankings are the Puerto Ricans. And again, that may offend people, but I'm sorry, that's reality.
Well, and that's where
the NFL,
that's where Bad Bunny comes from, and he can't stop telling you that. And I've got that is great stuff, Hugh, and you summed it up beautifully. I've got Bad Bunny coming up. I got to say, I do think that the NFL did not serve themselves well, and I've got to say that Hugh was making very strong points and making the points very well. I wish I could have hung in with you for a longer, Hugh. The clock was ticking out. They have these mandates. It's like they're liberals somewhere because it's mandatory. Liberals don't care what you do as long as it's mandatory. That's one of their rules for a living, of course. But they had this person that goes by the name Bad Bunny. And he's got a real name. He's from Puerto Rico, and he doesn't like America. He doesn't like capitalism, except when he's making millions of dollars for being ridiculous. And I just honestly, I don't care about him, but I don't get the appeal of the guy. I hear his music, and if it were great music, I'd say, wow, that's a great song. That's a really cool song. I have yet to hear the Bad Bunny song that made me say, wow, what a great song. That is really cool. I can see why he's so popular. I have not had that experience. And the left-wingers, like Mediaite, MAGA loses it over Bad Bunny halftime show. And that's not true, of course, but honestly, Charles Gasparino of the Fox Business Channel, I guess, tweeted out, Bad Bunny sucked, but you knew that already. Sure. Peeked in during Turning Point USA show, which was really good, Gasparino says. Bad Bunny plays to a nation the left wants, but most of the nation doesn't. Shame on NFL commissioner. There he is for taking this great game into AOC territory, into Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez territory. Sage Steele, who's been making a bit of a comeback lately, Sage Steele said if only there were English subtitles during the halftime show of America's greatest sporting event. And it's true, it was not in English because this guy is, not on our side. And the Democrat Party, Barack Obama told us to teach our kids to speak English, to speak Spanish. I apologize. Don't speak English. And Laura Loomer tweeting out, the NFL should apologize to the American people for flooding the Super Bowl with foreign flags. Totally disgraceful. There's nothing American about any of this, Laura Loomer said, and that's pretty true. Someone call in an ICE raid at the Super Bowl, Laura Loomer went on. What are all these foreign flags? And that's true. Yep. And Alex Berenson tweeting, I think support for ICE just went up 20%. Honestly, it's pretty nutty what they've done, and I don't think it's the smartest thing in the world. But as Hugh was saying, it's probably the NFL thinking that there's the Democrats have opened the borders and flooded the country with non-English speaking, Spanish speaking foreigners and gang members and human traffickers and drug traffickers and all that good stuff. And so maybe the NFL is trying to suck up to and appeal to what they see as an emerging demographic by going Spanish language. But again, I spoke to a couple of English language people yesterday who said, you know what, I think I've had it with the NFL. I think I've been there, done that, and it's over. Now, also, since we're talking about all those tweets there, I should mention Jonathan Turley, the wonderful, excellent law professor, emeritus, George Washington University, and commentator on the television. Jonathan Turley, about the Olympics, he said, listen to this, because the Associated Press did an analysis of the Olympics, and it was based on race. And they said in the Winter Olympics, there are too many white people competing in the Winter Olympics, the Associated Press. Our news media is a tumor, honestly. But Jonathan Turley wrote, rather than seeing a celebration of international athletes in the opening ceremony, the Associated Press saw white people. The AP objected the fact that countries like Sweden, for the teams that they put out, were, quote, overwhelmingly white and lacking immigrant representation, end quote. That's the Associated Press. That the Swedish Winter Olympic team was not racially diverse enough. Too many white Swedish skiers and snowboarders and ice skaters. Sweden should have more black skiers, is what the Associated Press is doing. Again, this is why nobody trusts the news media, because they're an embarrassment. Just ridiculous. Ridiculous, I'm telling you. But yes, the Dateline out of Sweden, no less, for the Associated Press. Isn't that amazing? Talks about Marianne Hashi. Remembers the thoughts rushing through her mind when she began hitting the ski slopes in northern Sweden. As a black woman from Somalia, she felt like an alien. Well, you're a black woman from Somalia skiing in Sweden. I can see why you wouldn't feel right at home. There are no Scorpions or AK-47s or militias gunning people down or anything like that. But soon there will be, because the left is fixing Sweden too. Amazing. Am I wearing the correct clothing for this? Does it fit? Do I look weird? Am I snowboarding correctly? You know, if you don't know whether you're snowboarding correctly, maybe you shouldn't be on the Olympic team. I'm just saying. Do they think that it's weird that I'm on the slope? But I carried on. I felt it didn't. I was never going to commit to anything in my life. All right, well, that's great. A few years later, snowboarding is the 30-year-old student's big passion, and it's helping to integrate her into her adopted country's society better than she ever could have imagined. Sure, but what does this matter? So Sweden has a Somali that took up snowboarding, a woman, and that is the lead of the story on the Olympics coming up, because with the left, it's always race, 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 isn't it? All right, now that's ridiculous on the part of the Associated Press and the news media, and it's the Winter Olympics. It's cold out there, you know, and then there's the fact that like northern climes, and that's Winter Olympics. That you're not going to find Burkina Faso with a big representation there. All right, now let's go back to Bad Bunny, because he's a minority person, and he talks at a Spanish and doesn't like English as much. But this is the soundbite where he starts with "God Bless America," right? Now he starts with God. Now we know that he's anti-American. He's another anti-capitalist leftist millionaire, of course. America made us a fortune, like in The Godfather, and he's still just filled with contempt because lefties are not happy unless they're not happy, right? So here's Bad Bunny, and he starts out with, or he has it in there, "God Bless America." But hang on, he's not talking about the United States of America, because he's explaining to us that America is not the United States of America. It's Tierra del Fuego, and it's Uruguay, and it's Bolivia, and it's Canada, and because it's North America and South America, not the United States of America. And here is Bad Bunny, and look for just a moment like he was throwing a little thing over here, a little palm branch, but it's not. He's every place from Tierra del Fuego to Canada is America.
God bless America. Sea Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Perú, Ecuador, Brasil, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Panamá, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, México, Cuba, República Dominicana, Jamaica, Haití, las Antillas, United States, Canadá, and my motherland, mi patria, Puerto Rico.
I think he left out Costa Rica. Did he leave out Costa Rica? I don't think I heard Costa Rica. You heard Costa Rica? Okay. All right, good. All right, yeah, because I'd hate to think, but that's America. He's God blessing, not the United States of America. But North America and South America, which, see, this is the open borders, end of nations, end of national sovereignty, end of national identity school of thought. And he's a leftist, like every idiot Democrat out there, who wants to see an end to nations, and it will lead to, I think, an increase in cannibalism in the United States, because Haiti, and we got barbecue, and you know how they love cannibalism, and the Democrats are moving. Of course, one of the Democrats bit the finger off of a federal agent in Minnesota a week and a half ago, because cannibalism really is their bag baby. Aren't they amazing? So there he is. And it was the only words in English were "God bless America." And then he revealed that it wasn't about God bless America at all. It's about there is no United States of America. It's just North America and South America. And here are a bunch of countries that, have gangs that have infiltrated the country with human trafficking and child sex trafficking and drug trafficking and all that good stuff. Yeah, and then he was singing, because that's his job, apparently. He's a singer. Hey, what country are we in? This is the halftime show of the Super Bowl. It's you like the song? Yeah. It's an ordinary song. I think that if Piercy had AI say, "Hey, write me a song that sounds like Bad Bunny," I think you'd probably have a better song than that before evening rush hour today. That's what I'm thinking. And just look, Latin beat is nice. Everybody knows Latin beat, and every Latin beat is nice. Ricky Ricardo had songs as good as that in the I Love Lucy show. That's no problem. By the way, his real name is Benito. He's maybe that's where he got the Bad Bunny Benito. Is Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, just like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And it's funny that Jonathan Turley said that brought it into AOC land, but it was him, right? Oh, it was one of the people, one of the other tweets. AOC land, bringing the Super Bowl into AOC land. It's true. Yes, sir. So they got that, and that's it. Yeah, a little Latin beat. Latin beat's always great, but you got guys on street corners in the summertime in Washington, D.C., playing plastic drums with sticks that sound just like that, too, and it sounds good, you know. It's your Latin beat music. It's good stuff, don't you think? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's go to the telephones. People are calling in because the NFL and all that stuff. But let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Howard calling from Manassas, Virginia. Howard, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah,
look, this is the dilemma I think many of us are in. I think I represent many of the NFL watchers. I'm a 58-year-old white Christian dude, outdoor working man. Mm-hmm. I haven't had a Bud Light since that whole crap went down. Never will. And on another note, if I see you at the Birchmere in a couple months, I'll buy you a beer, but it'll be anything but Bud Light.
Excellent.
I have not been in a Target for 10 years or whatever it's been. They were the first to go with all that, use whatever bathroom you want and you identify with. Have not been in one. I told you my wife and I have gotten in almost court divorce proceedings over Target, but she hasn't been much. But seriously, we have nowhere else to go with the NFL, and it sucks. I'm ashamed of myself to some degree, but I've been watching football forever with my dad, with my sons, with buddies, Super Bowl parties.
Sure.
I disagree. I turned off the halftime, went and watched the USA America thing, which was good but not great, honestly.
Right.
But where else are we going to go? And it sucks. But I will tell you this, Chris, on a positive note, I see it. I have no statistics to back it up. I swear there are more men in the NFL on the teams that are speaking out about their Christian faith.
That's true.
Not just God, not just saying God bless America. And it seems to be more quarterbacks, but they're specifically mentioning Jesus. When they do that, they got a real, true, hardcore faith, in my humble opinion. But the NFL is stupid, and I don't know what they're doing. That is a smack to our face about what they did yesterday. And I would have to think someone like Carrie Underwood, God bless her, without her politics, and she doesn't have many that I know of, would reach so much more. And even Bruce Springsteen, who's liberal as crap, but if he could get up there and sing some of his songs without talking politics, he would be much better than stupid Bad Bunny, and I've never heard of in my life. But my young nephews and nieces have heard of them, and sadly, they kind of like them. But, of course, they don't know about all the stupid politics.
Right.
Anyway, that's the dilemma we're in, my friend.
No, you're right. You summed it up beautifully, actually. You should have a radio show. That was very good. And you're right. Look, NFL football is fun. My best girl and I last night were talking about college football. My best girl brought it up, said, maybe next year we're gonna spend more time on college football. And the truth is, Howard, that college football is being now we're paying millions of dollars to college football players who are then being traded by schools to from one college to another, and millions of dollars being poured into that. And that's going to make college football into something different too. But the NFL have, from Colin Kaepernick and all the LGBTQ yada yada, and I don't care. You guys do whatever you want to do. I could care less. But why everybody else's sex life has to be a part of my daily life, I just don't know. And did you notice, Howard, yesterday all the rainbow stuff on the field and in the stadium and on the jerseys, and it's all and it wasn't even LGBTQ, but it was all coincidentally rainbow colors and hot pink colors where you run in and out of the locker rooms and stuff. And it wasn't even subtle. It was ham-handed with their politics everywhere. And they put politics on the back of their helmets now. And you're absolutely right. And we're seeing it in college too, Howard, where a lot more young men and professional athletes are talking about God and faith and doing it very openly. And I think that they would have been more timid about that a few years ago. I think a lot of professional...
Yes, they are... They are, Chris, and I'll tell you what. You know who has the strongest platform, and this is just real. This is just me saying it how it is the black conservative Christian men.
Yeah.
It's hard for the liberals to go after them. And, they're being more bold in their faith, and God bless them for it, because we all need it, but the black community with lack of fathers, they need it even more. And praise God for these strong men that are willing to stand up and say, what they believe and why they believe it. And they don't have to say they're Democrat, Republican, or anything. They just need to state their values. And I am very encouraged by what I see in that area, and very discouraged by what I see at the top of the stupid NFL, which is retarded, but whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Howard, you said it all very, very well. That was great. Our listeners are bright, articulate, clean. What are they? Articulate, bright, and clean. That's how Joe Biden described Barack Hussein Obama. Yeah, thank you, Howard. Good stuff. Well said.
First and foremost, I want to thank God for this, blessing to be here.
It appears I kind of ran out the clock on myself again. But great stuff to talk about. That Bad Bunny singing in Spanish yesterday. One of the songs that he sang is a song that is filled with what we'll just call explicit lyrics, dirty lyrics, in Spanish. And, we want to know, Donna from Anderson, South Carolina is asking, was the FCC watching in Spanish to see what, as the Spanish kids were watching, Spanish-speaking kids were watching. You got that? I also love this story from the Associated Press. Europe's rising diversity is not reflected at the Winter Olympics. Sure, culture plays a big role. They want Sweden to look like Oakland, California. That's not diversity. That's the end of diversity. When you go to Sweden, it should be Swedish. When you go to France, it should be French. And Italy should be Italian. But no.